the shadow at the window. Winter in the outskirts of Tokyo was merciless that year. December brought biting winds from the sea, carrying thick fog that shrouded the city as night fell. The 20-story apartment building stood alone by the edge of the highway, a hulking mass of concrete forgotten in the desolate landscape. Once a symbol of urban prosperity, its long, echoing corridors now carried only the howl of wind through cracked windows, and flickering fluorescent lights cast eerie shadows like dying eyes in the dark. Matsuda Riku, a 27-year-old IT programmer working remotely, chose apartment 1403 on the 14th floor as his new home. Introverted by nature, he relished the isolation. No noisy neighbors, no blinding city lights. The apartment faced the highway, where cars streaked by at night like fleeting ghosts. There was no balcony, only a large sliding glass window that opened to a vast expanse of nothingness. Below was a 14-story drop, where wind wailed and fog swirled. For Riku, it was the perfect retreat to immerse himself in his world of code, far from the chaos of the outside. He moved in on a late afternoon as snow began to fall lightly. His belongings were minimal: a laptop, a few clothes, and a newly installed security camera system. The building had recently upgraded its surveillance, but oddly, the cameras only operated at night, from dusk to dawn. To save electricity, the manager explained over the phone, his voice as cold as the winter air. Riku didn't mind. He connected the camera to his phone, positioning it in the living room corner, angled toward the large window. The lens captured the entire glass frame, ensuring no blind spots. The first night passed quietly. Riku stayed up late, typing under the neon glow of his computer screen. Outside, fog obscured the highway, turning everything into a hazy white void. He went to bed at 2 in the morning, unaware that the clock was ticking toward a fateful hour. The next morning, his phone buzzed. A notification from the camera app. Photo captured at 3:33 a.m. Riku frowned, opening the image. It was a black and white shot, crisp but eerie under the moonlight filtered through fog. The window was clear, reflecting the dark interior of the room, but in the bottom right corner, pressed against the glass, stood a tall, gaunt silhouette, its back turned. It was unnaturally tall, its shoulders sharp like barren branches, head slightly bowed. No details were clear, just a faint, dark smudge, as if someone stood outside the window, gazing at the highway. Riku chuckled nervously. Probably my reflection, he told himself, but he didn't recall standing up in the middle of the night. Besides, the apartment was on the 14th floor. Outside the window was nothing but air. No one could approach from outside without ropes or climbing gear. The camera's angle, mounted high on the ceiling, was out of reach for anyone tampering from the other side of the glass. He deleted the photo and returned to work. But the second night, the notification came again at 3:33 a.m. This time, the figure was clearer, closer, mere centimeters from the glass. Its shoulders seemed to tremble, as if breathing. Riku checked the camera. No signs of tampering. The system only recorded automatically at night, and just before the photo arrived, he faintly heard a soft click from the device, though no one had touched it. It was as if someone, somewhere, had pressed a shutter. Curiosity turned to unease. Riku began to monitor the pattern. On the third night, the figure appeared again, closer still. He could now make out its height, over 2 meters, skeletal, with shoulders protruding under a thin black garment. It stood with its back turned, but its head tilted slightly to one side, as if listening to something inside the room. The weather grew worse. The fog thickened, transforming the night into a surreal, muffled world where sounds distorted. The building's corridors became unsettling. Fluorescent lights flickered incessantly, casting long, warped shadows on the walls. The old elevator would occasionally stop mid-journey, its doors opening to pitch blackness, forcing Riku to take the stairs, damp, moldy steps that echoed his footsteps as if someone followed close behind. He decided to ask his neighbor. Sasaki Yui lived in 1405, a few doors down, a 25-year-old nurse who worked night shifts at a nearby hospital. She had long black hair tied neatly in a bun. They met in the hallway one evening as she returned from a shift. "You're the new tenant?" she asked, her voice soft but weary. Riku mentioned the strange photos. Yui gave a faint smile, but her eyes betrayed unease. "This building has rumors, especially about 1403. The previous tenant disappeared 5 years ago. On a winter night, at 3:33 a.m., Kisaragi Harutha name surfaced only in whispers. A young woman, living alone, an office worker. She vanished without a trace, her window left wide open in the dead of night. The police ruled it a suicide, but no body was ever found. Yui said the apartment often sat empty, and past tenants left after a few months, complaining of strange noises and shadows at the window. Riku was skeptical, but the coincidence chilled him. 3:33 a.m., the witching hour. In Western folklore, when the veil between the living and the dead thins, it matched the exact time of Haru's disappearance. He sought out Ono Daisuke, the building's elderly security guard. Ono, about 60, was a former police officer, now working night shifts with a quiet demeanor and distant eyes. Ono sat at the reception desk under a dim yellow light, a tall, thin shadow. He repeated, his voice low and gravelly. He hesitated, then shared. 5 years ago, when Haru was still alive, the old camera system captured similar images. He'd seen the footage figure appearing night after night, starting far off, then drawing closer. "It's not human," he whispered. "And now, it's back." On the fourth night, the figure was closer still, pressed so near the glass that Riku could see fog condensing on the surface, like breath. Its head tilted fully to the left, revealing a long, unnatural neck. The click sounded sharper before the photo arrived, jolting Riku awake. He rushed to the window, peering out. Nothing but fog and howling wind. No trace of anyone. The obsession took hold. Riku stopped sleeping, spending hours reviewing the photos. They formed a horrifying loop. The tall, gaunt figure, back turned, inching closer each night. On the fifth night, it was so near the glass that he could see its trembling shoulders, as if it were laughing silently. Riku tried disabling the camera, but the system reactivated itself at night, as if it had a will of its own. He dug deeper. On obscure online forums, he found old posts about the building. An anonymous user claimed Haru had sent emails to friends, describing a shadow outside my window, always with its back turned, but getting closer. Her final email was sent at 3:33 a.m., just before she vanished. Riku contacted Yui, who agreed to look at the photos. "It looks like a man," she said, her face pulling. "But why is it so tall?" Ono revealed more. As a former cop, he'd investigated Haru's case. There were no signs of a break-in, but the cameras caught that figure right before she disappeared. "It's not an illusion," he insisted, "and now, it's chosen you." On the sixth night, the figure moved, no longer static. It shifted slightly, as if trying to peer inside. Its head tilted to the right, revealing an unnaturally long, pointed ear. The click now came with another sound, a faint whisper, blending with the wind. Riku tried to leave the apartment, but the elevator stopped between the 13th and 14th floors, its doors opening to darkness. He heard soft footsteps echoing from below's low, deliberate. He pressed the emergency button, but only a faint chuckle responded. Finally, the elevator lurched back to life, taking him to the lobby. Ono looked at him and shook his head. "It won't let you go." Yui offered her place as a temporary refuge. They sat in her small living room, sipping hot tea in the cold night. Yui shared stories from her night shifts, dying patients whispering about 3:33, when spirits roamed. Maybe Haru didn't die, she mused. Maybe she was pulled into another world, and now she's trying to come back. On the seventh night, even at Yui's, the notification came. A photo from his apartment's camera, the figure now pressed fully against the glass, its long hand resting on the surface, its head tilted completely, revealing a pale, fleshless cheek. Riku returned to his apartment, determined to confront it. He set up extra lights, waiting for 3:33. The click sounded, and the photo arrived. The figure now filled half the frame, its face beginning to turn. On the eighth night, an eye appeared black, pupilless. Riku began dreaming of Haru, a young woman standing outside the window, back turned, whispering, "It's getting closer." Ono showed him an old file camera footage from 5 years ago. The figure was identical, tall, gaunt, back turned, approaching night by night. But its face, Ono paused. When it turned, it looked like Haru. On the ninth night, the figure turned its head fully to one side. Half its face emerged, a sharp nose, a thin, twisted mouth like a smile. Riku trembled as he realized it looked like him. Like Matsuda, Riku terror peaked. He called Yui, but she didn't answer night shift. Ono vanished from the lobby. The elevator stopped again, and this time he heard a clear whisper. "Riku, closer now." On the 10th night, he sat before the window, lights off, only moonlight piercing the fog. The click came at 3:33. The photo arrived. The figure filled the frame, its face fully turned toward the room. Half of it was Riku Matsuda, Riku with a warped smile, black eyes staring into the lens. He turned to the window. Outside, pressed against the glass, was himself, tall, gaunt, back turned at first, but now tilting its head, smiling. The sliding window creaked open, icy wind rushing in. Riku stepped forward, touching the glass. The figure reached out, pulling him into the void. The next morning, apartment 1403 was empty. The window stood wide open, fog still thick. Yui called the police, but they found only Riku's phone, its gallery filled with photos, the figure drawing closer each night, until the final image an empty void. Ono disappeared that night. Rumors spread. The tall, gaunt shadow now appeared at other apartments, back turned, waiting for 3:33 a.m. And if you live on a high floor, check your camera. It might be getting closer.